Hello and welcome to today's video, the Nexus report for first stand day 2, as well as a move by Fluxo. First, Fluxo. House has been let go. I believe he's joining one of the stream teams in Brazil in Tier 2. He struggled for sure in CB Low in 2026. The only mid laner worse was Mago. 2.7 KDA, 60 KP, 9.3 CS per minute, high farm, low involvement. 157 ROI, 3.5 share differential. It's not to say Fluxo was very good overall. I mean, Bao being your 80 carry, Peach being your jungler. Curdy's got a bright future. I mean, Curdy has got a bright future, really. But Fluxo in general, 275 vision efficiency, behind 500 gold at 15 minutes. I mean, if you're spotting your opponent 500 gold lead on average, your team's going to struggle. Mago was just pretty much just a little bit worse than that. So anybody that could go even in lane, which literally you're not even looking for somebody to dominate lane, just go even in lane, already gives Fluxo a 500 gold lead that they didn't have with House in the lineup. Solo kills 1 in 9 games, 6 champions in 9 games. He played Rise and 4 times, and then other shit. So you could predict he was going to play Rise if it was up, and then, pick against it. And we'll see what Fluxo do in the mid lane as a result of that move. Now, in recap, Gen.G, JDG. Similarly to yesterday, the series that wasn't the sweep, is considered the series that's closer based on gold control. And we'll talk about that in a second. But, more separated. Sorry. Obviously, it would be, you'd think 3-2 and it'd be closer. But Gen.G, JDG. Gen.G JDG had a lead for a large portion of Game 3, but this was a very quick series where Gen.G kind of scuffs the gold control stats because they won a game in like 23, 24 minutes, and then the other game in like 26 minutes or something. Very one-sided and quick. Canyon, 10-21. Keen, team leading 28% of damage, had a solo kill. Duro, 80 kill participation, led the way for Gen.G. Vampire had a solo 2v2 kill. 1-8-13, 70 KP. Not great when your leading KDA player has 8 deaths. Gala had a solo 2v2 kill as well, 28% of damage. So, Game 3, JDG were ahead for a large portion of it. The majority of that game. I would say 2/3 of that game based on the gold and Drake numbers. Now, in Drake's case, Gen.G took 9 of 12. They took all 3 Barons. We don't have the average gold up there, but it was pretty one-sided for Gen.G. Gold difference, 58-42 though, in terms of control. Because in Game 3, Gala Vampire had a couple 2v2 kills, and they opened up quite a lead. And because of that, that put JDG ahead in Game 3 for a large portion. Other notable things here. Solo kills, Chovy and Ruler. Chovy had 1. Ruler had a 2v2 kill or a solo kill. And then JDG, Zhaoju, Junja, and Hongq all had a solo kill. Something to think about as well when we think about this gold difference, and now it's 58-42. JDG did have a gold lead in Game 1. It was Game 1, I believe, where Hongq had a solo kill early on into Chovy, and that opened up a lead. It was a small lead, but it was a lead nonetheless, and they got credited with the gold lead for those minutes played. In terms of what happened when the first turret fell, though, so mind you, by the time the first turret fell, on average in these series, Keen had a 1,052 gold lead. Canyon, 583. Chovy, 1,713. And the bot lane duo, 625. So if we do the math here just real fast, 1635, 3348. About a 4,000 gold lead on average when the first turret fell in each of these games. And then you got to think to yourself, that's in each of these games. And in Game 3, JDG had a lead. So that's how lopsided Games 1 and 2 were. You could argue Gen.G just took their foot off the gas in the case of Game 3. And Gala Vampire punished Ruler Duro. You could maybe think that. But regardless, Gen.G are the class of the field. I thought JDG would take a game. I had 3-1 for that series, 3-2 for Lion Loud. but I thought Gen.G would take a game. Gen.G looks like they're on another level, and we'll see how they do with this event the rest of the way. Loud and Lion. So, Loud were ahead in Game 2 for the vast majority in that win. Game 4, Lion had a lead for 2/3 of that game and lost. Lion led in their other 3 games. I think one of the games they led start to finish. So the gold difference in this one is 66-34, 2/3 to 1. Lion, Inspired, 1 solo kill, 16-5 and 26. Saint, 2 solo kills, 27% of damage and 71 kill participation. Bull, 6-9-17. Not a great feeling when your AD carry has a KDA that looks like a support or a top laner or a jungler. I guess I'm being very generous when I said top laner or jungler. 6-9-17 looks like a terrible KDA, but it was the best one. Envy had 4 solo kills in this series, which was a surprise. 25% of damage, though, and we'll talk about that. That's usually a good thing, but in this case it was not. Gen.G solo kill, 71% of damage, leading the way for Loud. Drake's 14-8 for Lion. They took 5 of 7 Barons, averaging a 3,067 gold. Power play, Loud, 3,234. 66-34, like I said, in favor of Lion. They were ahead for the vast majority of this series. Dokla had 4 solo kills. Berserker and Isles, a solo 2v2 kill. Berserker had 2, Isles had 1. Loud, Shino, 3 solo kills, and we'll talk about him. So, like I said yesterday in my prediction that you just came out, Lion winning this 3-2 wouldn't surprise me if Loud won, because Lion sucked for the first 2 weeks of the season. They've shown that they can be terrible. Their weakness, in my opinion, would be Dokla in top lane. When you look at Loud, Shino is a very, very good young player. That is the angle for Loud. Now, Shino ends up leading this series on average across these 5 games with a 420 gold lead at 15 minutes, which is pretty good. I mean, that first turret falling. But the rest of the Rift, for the most part, went to Lion. Now, Inspired did not dominate Gen.G quite as much as you would have liked prior to the first turret falling. Only a 121 gold lead. That's like nothing. Saint, 494. Bot lane duo, though, 749 for Berserker and Isles. So, on average, when the first turret fell, we're looking at 74, 195, about a 950 gold lead on average for Lion, which isn't huge, especially when I think one of the games the first turret fell like 20 minutes. So if that's the case, I mean, 1,000 gold lead at 20 minutes is not anything really to think about, but it's who was in the lead at the time. Technically, X team. But is the gold lead really that significant? No, they're just ahead. You'd rather be ahead than behind, right? And the gold lead, that's just accounting for gold lead, not how Drakes factor into things, which is how you get the 66-34 is, well, who's taking Drakes? Are we trading turrets for Drakes? Now, on the scoreboard, you're going to see turret for Drake and say, oh, wow, X team has another 500 gold advantage. And it's like, yeah, but that Drake has gold value. It's just hard to put a number on it, and we try to roughly put a number on it, which is how I get that stat. Now, we're talking about Shino. In Game 5 in particular, he was given the ball. And unfortunately, as the team fights went along, and he had a solo kill into Dokla in this game, it just... He couldn't find the opportunities, really. The team fights were pretty disjointed. It always seemed like somebody was behind or not involved right away. Envy in one of the, I think maybe even the key team fight was where Envy was way off to the side on a flank and was by the time he got involved, the team fight was already in the favor of Lion, and it was hard to really come out of that hole and make up for what was a losing team fight. And it's just like timing things to all go in at one time. Just it wasn't there. It wasn't there. Lion did very well. Saint, in particular, I thought in Game 5 on Victor did very well in those team fights, stepping up. Berserker a couple times on Corky as well. And it's something that I've emphasized when I talked about this team going into this tournament was Berserker is the type of player that I feel like doesn't step forward. He has all the mechanics and everything. It just he doesn't have that aggression. And at times I thought as the game went along he had it. He outplayed Bull in this one, in my opinion. I am surprised Envy had 4 solo kills though. That is something I am surprised about when we come. I mean, we watched it, but you really think about it like, oh, that's quite a few solo kills. 4 in 5 games is pretty good. But the 25% of the team's damage. So Chino, I think, was 3rd on the team in damage, and Bull was 4th. Unfortunately, like, your best player, in my opinion, is your top laner. You don't love that. Only some teams have really made it really work. This meta really doesn't fit that. Not many teams are doing that right now. Especially at this event, nobody is. But for the case of Loud, that's kind of what you need to do. And I don't know, I feel like Chino needed more resources than he was given through this series. I think he played Ornn, if I recall, in a game. Scion. These are the champions I don't want him on. He needs to be on carry-oriented champions. He's the difference maker for the team. He's the one that gets the shit done. You got to put Gen.G on those tanks. You got to put Envy on more lower resource champions, and give Chino those opportunities to carry the game. Because honestly, that kid I think is the one that needs to be given the ball. But 5-game series, very close. I imagine that we aren't seeing quite the same fanfare and response that we saw last week on Twitter when these two regions played. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just a matter of, I don't know. It's just like, oh, well, we're just moving on. But, I mean, the regions are not super far away, but there's also like a battle between 7th and 8th, and I'm just like, oh, well, congratulations, you finished 7th. Like, whoever is happy about 7th is obviously not going to ever get 1st. So, that's kind of how I look at it. Lion is won 5 games. Young players, too. Saint needed this. He's on an international stage for the first time. Isles, this is the second time, but those two really needed this opportunity, especially Saint, in my opinion, because sometimes I feel like he leaves a little bit to be desired in big moments, and in this one he showed out. So that's it for the video. Yeah, Jesus Christ. That's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.